Colin Todd was one such player who was known for being more disciplined than even the coaches and managers. But despite being one of the best players during his era, the English football legend had to face multiple challenges in his life. Let's take a look. Colin Todd was born on 12th of December 1948 in Chester-le-Street, County Durham, England. The time period in which he was born was just after the destructive World War II, and the city was once again developing. And soccer played a unifying role for every single person in the county, including the Todd family. Todd's parents weren't the richest of the families in the area, by the way. They belonged to what was termed the working class and had limited resources to fulfill the necessities of the family, especially the newborn kid. But as they say, it's not always about what you have, it's about how you use that. Todd, the kid, started playing football at a very young age. I'll emphasize this point once again. Football was more than just a sport for the people of Chester-le-Street. It was an activity that brought all the people who had suffered in the war together and gave them a sense of unity and togetherness. So the respect and love for the game was way beyond what we could think of. Initially, Todd's primary playground was the streets of Chester-le-Street, where he would play with his local friends by making goalposts of chairs and pipes. He also started playing in local matches that were much more organized than his street matches. And if you don't know what these local games are like, they are extreme, way more extreme than what we see at the professional level. In very plain terms, they play like crazy with so much intensity. Playing these local games contributed to Todd's early upbringing and life changes. These games helped him develop a strong, competitive, and fearless sports personality that distinguished him from everyone else in the later phases of his life. Now, as we mentioned, Todd's financial condition wasn't great, or rather call it bad to be precise. But despite all these struggles, his parents never stopped him from playing the game, for they knew he was going to be a legend. Encouraged by his parents, which is probably all a kid ever wants, Todd even started playing for his school team while balancing his games with his studies. The quality of skills he possessed was unmatchable, and everyone could clearly see it. And on top of it, his love and dedication to the game earned him an even higher reputation. He was very disciplined when it came to the game, and it was this too tight discipline that would cause him some troubles in the later phases of his life as well. However, if you are thinking that, oh, all this kid did was play football, you are mistaken. He loved doing different sorts of things, from cycling and exploring the countryside to helping his parents in different activities. One of the lesser-known hobbies of Todd was reading. Although he was not an avid reader of books, you could very easily find him reading football magazines while lying on his bed. I wonder which football star he would have looked upon and said, "God, I want to be like him." Well, coming back to the story, Todd became one of the best defenders of his locality and the town in a very short period of time. However, the breakthrough point of his life came in 1964 when he was scouted for the Sunderland youth team. Todd also had the opportunity to join Newcastle United or Middlesbrough, but he chose Sunderland for their tradition for youth. However, this also came with its own challenges. In order to keep his place in the youth team, Todd had to constantly prove his worth in every single game, and to some extent, this also affected his studies. But he was determined and had already made up his mind about what he had to do. So he kept playing and became a regular member of the club's first team by 1966. After appearing in 191 games and 3 amazing goals for Sunderland, Todd was transferred to Derby County for a record transfer fee for a defender, £1,750,000. However, before this transfer actually happened, Brian Clough made a famous remark regarding the transfer. "We are not signing Colin Todd. We can't afford him." Todd formed a very solid defense with his country fellow, Roy McFarlane, that helped Derby win 2 league titles together. Not just that, Todd also went on to win his first division title under the management of Clough's successor, Dave McKay. Todd was excellent in the field. He led the command of the defense and created an unbreakable fort for the opposition strikers, allowing his teammates to create more counterplays and attacks. No wonder he won the 1975 PFA Players Player of the Year award. Apart from Sunderland and Derby County, Todd also played for several other clubs, including Everton and Birmingham City. During his professional career as a player, he appeared in 661 games, holding the command of the defense. Such a high number of games also highlights Todd's fitness and energy on the field, which was most probably the result of his tough training in the local and street matches during his childhood. But apparently, Todd's career as a soccer player wasn't all that he was going to be remembered for. After saying goodbye to the game as a player in 1984, Todd entered the management industry, and ultimately this was going to change everything for him. So Todd started his managerial career with the club of Middlesbrough in March of 1990, and the period was amazing for both the club and the manager. Under the coaching of Todd, Middlesbrough reached the first division from the third division in successive seasons and was considered one of the emerging teams in the period. However, Todd did something that brought so much news and controversy to the Englishman that he wouldn't have thought of. So in the 1991 season, Middlesbrough was really struggling with a threat to going back to the third division because of their not-so-good performance in the second division. But somehow Todd kept the team strong and ensured their second division place and even qualified for the playoffs in the next season. But only when everything was looking to be fine again, he quit. The resignation was so sudden and abrupt that it made everyone surprised and all the fans unhappy and even angry at Todd. Many experts and pundits criticized Todd's unexpected resignation and said that it was a poor call. On the other hand, the fans were heartbroken as Todd's sudden walk away from the team looked like a form of betrayal and abandonment to them. Was his call the right one, or was just a lack of commitment? I'll leave it to you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Continuing our story, Todd's next stop was the club of Bolton Wanderers, which he joined in 1992 as an assistant manager to Bruce Rioch. After serving 4 years as an assistant, Todd finally became the sole manager of the side in 1996 when his co-manager McFarland was dismissed after being unable to cope up with the Premier League pressure. Let's be honest, Todd did some magic with the Wanderers, leading them back to the top flight and even taking the team to the finals where it lost to Watford. If you have been a Bolton Wanderers fan, you'll agree that Todd's team was one of the finest that club ever had during the 90s. But once again, Todd left the team during the 1999-2000 season. Todd also managed the clubs of Swindon Town and Derby County for some time, but that did not work out well for either him or the clubs. But why? One reason was that Todd was not able to establish a healthy relationship with the players, which could clearly be seen in the field. According to many players, Todd was too disciplined for them. The case especially came into public light when Todd was with the Wanderers. Due to his strict routine and discipline, which probably came to him from his childhood, he often faced clashes with his team members, and sometimes this would even lead to big tension between the whole squad. Todd was undeniably a great manager and a great player, but he also had his fair share of issues and challenges that often put him in critical situations. For example, after taking retirement from the game, Todd faced a severe financial crisis. Well, this used to be a very common yet critical problem with football players in those days. While playing on the field, they would enjoy a lavishing life with spending loads of money on luxuries without thinking about the future. When they retired, the flow of money would decrease or stop at all, making it very difficult for them to adapt to a new lifestyle all of a sudden. Not just that, there weren't many jobs for football players either back then. Just think about it. Apart from being a coach, manager, expert, or pundit, what fields did football players have open for them? None, right? The case was similar with the English defender, and it was to manage his high expenses and the lack of good job opportunities that he had to step into the managerial field. When he was asked why he had to join the club of Randers FC as a manager, he replied, "Even though I'm coming up to 59, I still get a buzz. The hardest thing is being out of football. It hits you badly, so I'm enjoying working in Denmark." This incident also teaches us the importance of management and finance handling for the future. If you spend all your money on unnecessary things today without even thinking once about how you are going to manage tomorrow, it's most likely that you'll face similar problems as Todd faced after his retirement. Todd's life was also greatly shaped by his controversies and arguments that made him a hot topic in the media. One such memorable instance came during his time at Derby County as a player when he was playing under the management of the legendary Brian Clough. As we know, Todd was a very disciplined and strict player right from the start, for whom the style of the play was very typical and disciplined. However, Clough was a completely opposite personality who loved exploring unique play ideas and often put the team in weird situations in order to shock the opponents. As a result, there was a heated spark between these two great men. Although Todd and Clough together won multiple games and even league titles, which obviously the fans loved, their personal relationship was something everyone talked about. Not just that, even when Todd was playing with the Nottingham, he was kind of unable to secure his place in the team, and this made him frustrated. And this frustration led to his constant arguments and heated conflicts with the management as well as other players of the team, leaving a big stain on his personality. Things got even worse when Todd came out in public and openly criticized the club's handling of players and said that it was very bad. Obviously, Todd couldn't stay at Nottingham Forest for much long, as he had to make an abrupt departure from the club 1984. Another big problem for Todd was his rigid opinion regarding the game. Obviously, for him it was discipline, but for the rest of the world it was too rigid. During his career, both as a player and professional, Todd made certain remarks about the game that landed him in hot water. For example, Todd's opinion about modern football and its commercialization has put him around controversies and disputes. He believes that the commercialization of the game, the attitude and mentality of the modern players, and the tactics used by modern managers aren't the right way to move forward. Some people have praised these comments, calling them nostalgic and praising Todd's love for the game. However, there are people who think he is being too critical here and that he is simply out of touch. After a decent run with the Randers, Todd went on to manage two more other clubs, including Darlington and the Superliga club Esbjerg FB, but could not achieve much with the teams he had in hand. He even tried his luck one more with the club of Randers, and even became the permanent manager of the team in 2013. But it couldn't last long, as he announced his retirement from professional football in 2016. Finally, on December 5, 2016, Todd was sacked for the last time in his life and then said goodbye to professional football once and for all. There is so much we can learn from Colin Todd's life. How he rose from such an environment and went on to become of the best defenders of the country truly shows his dedication and devotion towards the game. However, being a human, he also had some negative aspects that often made life more challenging for the Englishman. But that does overshadow the legacy Todd had and still has. He still remains one of the best defenders England had during the 80s and 90s. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Like the video and subscribe to Sport Icons to watch more such interesting stories from the world of sports. I'll be back soon with another video. Till then, stay entertained.